everyone. Welcome to Sports CTO Talks. In this series, we will be connecting with technology leaders into the sports industry, where we will simplify sports technology. I am Ami, your guide on this journey through the minds of tech leaders who are shaping the future of sports. We will dive deep into discussions and innovations trending and driving this industry, from AI to cloud, from cybersecurity to sustainability. If it is sports tech, we are talking about it. Today, we have a very experienced guest with us, Mr. Ron Gauci. He has decades of experience across the technology and sports industry, having held executive positions in some of the world's largest technology companies and board and executive positions across many sporting codes, including NRL, motorsports, ice hockey, baseball, softball, and Australian Sports Technology Network. These are just, a few names. Like he has seen technology has impacted performance, fan engagement, and business of sports in general. He is the managing director of the business advisory practice at OzNews, which is all about inspiring creative thinking to assist organizations and their executives reach the full potential. We welcome you, Ron.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the invitation and the opportunity to talk to your listeners.
Thank you, Ron. Today, he would be talking about how sports tech redefines fan experience. Like, as Ron is having vast experience, decades of experience, we would like, Ron, you to shed basic, the background about technology and sports and how you have seen over the years how fan experience has evolved with the technology advancement.
Of course, and it's such a broad area, isn't it? So I'll try and restrict that. But in terms of my own experience, I've got one of those unique situations where I've been involved in the technology industry since the mid 80s, and I've been in sport pretty much all of my life. Certainly in various capacities, whether as a participant, a parent, an executive, a board member, and the like. So as you say, and thank you for the kind introduction. I have had extensive experience. I think to look at that experience, I've been able to see with technology so many changes to how fans engage. In fact, how we all engage with the sports community. That it'd be too simple to just talk about one fan experience. So I like to look at it in maybe four different categories. For the participant in me that goes to the game or goes to the stadium and sees it, that's an experience. Whereas if I'm sitting at home and I'm watching sport, I'm still a fan, I'm still engaged, but that's an experience, right? And then, of course, when I go out and socialize, my eyes are normally glued to the screen if there's sport on. That's yet another experience again when I'm in a public place. And then, of course, if I go and participate in sport, I come into contact with technology there. So each of those four areas, I'm a fan, I'm engaged, and I'm being exposed to technology from that perspective. If I try to then throw a simple umbrella across it, the thing that's changed enormously is how immersive the experience has become. We are people who love positive experiences, and if we have a positive experience, we'll do it again. So for us, or for those who experience sport, we know any of those four capacities, it's really about being immersive. And you mentioned I'm a director of the Australian Sports Technology Network, ASTN, which is a member-based organisation that represents those who are innovating in sport and developing technologies. It's happy to take any membership inquiries if people are interested. But we through Deloitte we published a report recently that talked about 45% of people attending a live event do so for the socialization element, so we can be with others and have that experience with others. So that tells me it's so important that we do have that immersive experience. And then for those who can't attend an event, just think Paris Olympics and what happened there. We very much became part of what was happening in Paris, even though we didn't get on a plane, we didn't get to the stadium, but the way that the coverage has evolved it's changed so much, and we felt very much a part of the competition. So the ability to combine watching, engaging, using multiple devices to access information, to then engage in commerce for those who are interested in the gambling component, watching the replays, capturing those moments. There's so much to technology now in the fan experience. So I'm sorry for the long answer for the first question, but you did ask for some background. So
No, it is indeed needed. Like you have so much experience, so you sharing anything is going to be valuable at the end of the day. So, okay. So, like, I want to understand, like, how can clubs and leagues create sustainable revenue? Like, basically the revenue streams through digital fan engagement, like, how can they create that?
yeah, the first thing I would say is if your business focuses on the revenue first and foremost, then the reality is that you will not succeed per se. So the thing about sport is it's emotional. It's the whole fan engagement thing we're talking about is really about a customer experience. So when I was at Melbourne Storm, we looked at the attendance numbers. We looked at how big a stadium we had. We had a 30-seat stadium at Amy Park that wasn't getting filled. Now, that's not to say that the entertainment on the ground wasn't spectacular. It was terrific. But what clubs are now doing and organisations are now doing are turning a sporting event into a festival. So it was all about the entertainment, the immersive entertainment that was happening in and around the arena. We saw that recently with the Australian Open and Formula One Grand Prix in Melbourne, if I can just focus on the Melbourne events, that they have become festivals and celebrations, and it's always the heart of the customer first. That's how you then monetize the rest of the rest. My belief is if you get the customer experience right, the monetization follows and the commercialization follows because then you have the opportunity to engage with more merchandise sales, hospitality, levels, tiers. I know in sports now you can have an entry ticket and you can have a superior experience ticket, right? That you pay extra for, and it's not that different to other forms of entertainment, which effectively are forms of competition as well. So, uh, what I do know is that if you rely solely on ticket sales to get people to the stadium, you will not succeed commercially. So, you do need to provide that full-on experience. And today, with the science that's gone into stadiums, the technology and Wi-Fi. You can do so much when you've got a person inside the stadium and turn that into a real experience.
Okay. So, like, are there any specific examples with which, it is easier to understand for us as an audience?
How do you mean? As in what was how to simplify that?
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
yeah. Well, if you want people to come to the stadium, give them something that will turn that into a fantastic experience, and not just about turning up. Game starts, game ends, something happens during the breaks, and then you're off home. Especially with a lot of cities now, and Melbourne's no exception, the trip to the stadium and the trip away from the stadium is not an easy trip and can make for a long day. So there's lots of ways you can actually turn that into a positive experience. Likewise, for the person at home, it's so immersive now as you watch not only replays, but there's so much happening on the screen, and the data shows that most people will sit not only watching it on the screen, but have a device in their hand and they're using multiple devices to get information, follow it, track it, search it, whatever. So there's lots of ways you can get people to engage. And then, of course, commercialization it goes beyond that. Do I want to buy some merchandise? Do I want to buy a ticket to another event? Do I want to have a gamble? So there's different ways of then engaging, but the apps for the simpleton, you need to get the app engagement right.
Okay. So, like, as you were talking about commercialization, I just want to understand how can sports organizations, have a balance or set a balance between commercialization and manage the authentic fan experiences or the fan
Yeah.
connections?
Yeah, sure. And different sports have different answers to that. But at the end of the day, it's everything from getting the app right to the ticket price right to the hospitality and food pricing right. When you're selling merchandise, getting that right. So I'm a no data, no decision person. So it's very important that people do the research, get the data to get the price points right, do the market research. What is sustainable? What can I charge for? What experiences can I charge for? If you look at sporting clubs, they have different tiers of membership. And as I said before, some of those tiers are just to arrive and watch a game. And some of the others are a fully immersive, engaging experience where you get to meet players, you get behind the scene, money can't buy experiences. And I know from experience that if you get that bit right, then you can charge a great deal. I had good fortune of dealing with, spending time with Man United, their stadium tours, the ability to engage and see the back room of the sheds or the change rooms, the retail experience. They knew how to monetize every part of their business, including the tours. And every one of those tours, I think they were running 50 tours for 30 people per week, 30 people per tour, and they were charging top dollar for it, and they were always full. So that in itself was very clever monetization.
True, true, true. So, as the technology is transforming and, there are new things coming in, people are adopting to new technology. So, has it disrupted the in-venue fan experience in any way?
I think it's more augmented than disrupted, right? So it's if you're going to the stadium, you're going to see performance and an event. Having the technology, if you've got it right, can actually turn that into a better experience. I don't think it's created a disruption as such. Where the technology can be disruptive is I decide to watch it from home as a better experience and I don't go to the stadium, right? Now, all broadcasters would love to have people watching from home. There's no question. And today the reality is I can have my streaming service portable on my device and I can watch both at the stadium and from home. But at the end of the day, broadcasters want you to watch from home and the competitions want you to go live because there's an atmosphere and it turns it into an exciting event. The merging of the two is the bit that we haven't got quite right yet, but I think we're making progress on that. But certainly, if you're talking about a live experience at the stadium, I think the technology has augmented or assisted rather than disrupted.
Okay. So, right now, the younger generation, or a lot many people are into fantasy sports. So,
Yeah.
how is the impact of fantasy sports and sports betting on fan involvement or fan experience?
Yeah, that's a good question. So depending on the sport and depending on how the sport's going, the different fantasy sports do really well depending on the cycle. But certainly we're seeing more people participating in fantasy sports now, whether they are owning a club, selecting players, choosing teams and the likes. That we're seeing more of that, and that's pretty much an exciting part of sport where people feel like they're more engaged. If you want to take fantasy sport to another level, there's the eSports marketplace. Now, today, eSports is just huge. It's billion, if not a trillion dollar business. There are as many people participating in esports today as there are participating physically as sports people on the field, and the money is phenomenal. They have all the same issues as normal sports. They have gambling issues, they have drug issues. We're seeing esports athletes putting in as much effort for training and reflex training, those sort of things as what I would call the usual athletes. So that is a huge marketplace. Now you touched on the gambling side as well. I think that's a very sensitive area. obviously by the sheer number of organizations that are offering gambling services and the different options and different ways and the different offers, gambling, that is a significant issue, and how you manage that. The regulatory environment is becoming more strict. I think not too dissimilar to tobacco, we may see a time when gambling ads are not on. So I think that's an area that is a watch area in terms of what happens down the track. But certainly, we know that there are there's significant dollars in the gambling industry as well.
Okay. So, is there any bifurcation between the esports you are talking about and the other sports? It can be online sports or not online, matlab seeing sports on the TV or going on the stadium. How can you bifurcate it, and what are the advantages, of each?
Yeah, yeah. Well, certainly the esports platforms are very separate to your traditional platforms. So that's that part there. But we're actually seeing with esports people turning up to stadiums in massive numbers to watch esports on a screen. When I was CEO at Federation Square, we had Melbourne Victory playing football, soccer on the screen, and we had a massive crowd watching it there. And we've now seen full stadiums of the size or similar size to MCG participating there as well. How many of those turn out to actually participate in actual sport? That there's not much data on that, and there's not any piece of data that suggests that one always leads to the other. So if I've nailed virtual golf, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to walk out on a course and play. So we're not seeing any of that. But certainly, I know I prefer to go for a walk on a course. My son prefers to put the virtual headset on and play golf there. So go figure.
Agree on that part. So, these days, everyone is talking about AI. So, I have to ask you a question. And with your experience, I would just want to understand how is the data analytics is shaping, the personalized fan experience into the AI segment?
Yeah, look, AI is a special area of mine. I really love what's happening in that space, and the fact that AI is now training itself and evolving itself becomes quite exciting. I know that people have a fear around AI. You know what? We had a fear of the computer in the mid 80s when it came, and people thought that it was going to replace people. And the reality is, look at the size of the IT industry today. AI is not that different, if you like, but we still need to understand it. We need to put in place governance protocols, all that. There are things we need to do to make sure that it's friend, not a foe. But to answer your question, AI has the power to really truly change the experience. The data I can get now. So if I've put on my hat as a fan, the information I can get, the analytics I can get, the way that it interprets the game, that to me is a fantastic user experience. If I'm an athlete, performance enhancing data, giving me access to real-time information. Look at how quickly a Formula One driver, for example, in a fraction of a nanosecond, the information that's happened on the track goes to the server overseas, comes back to the driver, gives them real-time information to make split-second decisions. To me, that's AI. That's technology at its best. But we see that through the tennis, how the analytics now cricket. If you watch the cricket, you see the analysis of every ball, every stroke. The performance information you get around a player, and then as a consumer at home watching that, it gives me a much better understanding who the players are, how the game is played, all that sort of stuff. So to me, AI has changed everything, and it's just going to get better and better.
Okay. So, as we discuss about the immersive experiences, which are transforming the fan interaction with the sports. So, what is the role of AR and VR? It is happening, we are seeing it, but how it is going to evolve over the period of time?
Oh, well, as I say, I think it'll only get better. If you're talking AI, the data will just get richer. It'll be more interesting and informative to us. The thing about data is it means nothing unless we do the analytics, the analysis side. So there's that. Whereas augmented reality if that's what you're asking, is a very different field, right? Augmented reality is the virtual side. How do I take? Well, I guess the best way to explain it is that AI is information and AR is an experience, right? That's probably the best way to put it. So AI gives me data. Augmented reality actually puts me and immerses me into an environment that gives me that experience. And I think we're seeing, certainly with the headsets, and let's face it, the headsets are becoming more clever and less expensive. So more and more people are getting access to those, and what you can do with those that technologies now is mind-boggling, and it's a terrific experience. So that's a far cry from when I was a kid playing on a Pong thing that had just you know little dots moving back and forth across the screen. I've seen all the changes, and it's just getting more and more exciting.
True, true. So, I just wanted to understand one more thing. Like,
Yeah.
what are there are smart stadiums, people are talking about smart stadiums. So, what are the key considerations according to, when a person is investing into a smart stadium technology? What are the key things one should keep in mind?
Yeah, I mentioned I'm on the board of the ASTN. Recently, we had, I think before Christmas, we had a speaker, Tanya Salaband, who's the senior EVP of Hospitality and Entertainment at a company called Globant, Globant, if you want to go and look that up. She recently spoke on a panel that we ran as an ASTN masterclass and on stadium technology. That organization has worked very closely with some of the largest organizations in the world and some of the most amazing stadia in the world. And she talked about the importance of leveraging technology to build a fan-centric experience that can provide a 360 degree of fan engagement type features. Part of that, of course, is to make sure that you have frictionless issues with technology. So no one wants to go to a fantastic stadium that has all the smarts of technology and you can't get Wi-Fi, for example, right? Or you don't have a digital ticket. So the what everything from buying a ticket, entering the stadium, what do I do when I get to the stadium? What features and facilities are there? Whether it's ordering food that comes to my seat, whether there's screens at my seat, whether I'm in a corporate box, every part of that, the smart stadium technologies are evolving pretty quickly, and because of the nature of some of the stadiums, whether they're public or privately owned, we're seeing very different experiences now across there. But certainly Tanya spoke about that and the importance of increased personalization, the in-seat experience, whether it's entertainment or otherwise, and then tailored commercial sides of discounts, loyalty programs, etc. That's where it's really changing. But the whole personalization thing is really important, I think.
Okay. So, as you're leader into both, like the corporate sector also and various sports organizations, what are the strategies you have found most effective in driving digital transformation?
Yeah, look, the other thing that we haven't touched on that's worth mentioning is there's lots of shows now, like Drive to Survive. I don't know whether, but where those programs give you, and it's through technology, but gives you the behind the scenes experience that then engages you more. So those programs, I guess, get you far more engaged in the world of that sport so that when you do go and participate, you know about the drivers, you know about the technology, you know what they've gone through, and they've taken you on that journey. All right. So I think to answer your question, and you don't need to be as big as Formula One to do this, but with YouTubes and YouTube channels and so many even amateur organizations now have shows, podcasts like you've got where and they have virtual channels and likes where they create programs. there's different ways of getting people involved, engaged, and immersed in what you do and how you do it.
Okay. And according to you, like, what are like one or two quick suggestions for the companies or organizations to keep that in mind, while driving the digital transformation? What are the things you need to keep in mind, good or
Well, I
bad?
think first, yeah, I think the first thing is education. So a lot of the questions you're asking are good questions because lots of people are asking them. When I talk to sporting clubs and that, they have similar questions. So how do I do this? How do I digitally transform? What does it actually mean? So education is very important. And keeping up with industry trends, having conversations with people from the industry, like accessing people like me. There's lots of others and far more experienced than me. Have to go and get them to have those conversations. Um, People like me involve myself with companies and help them develop strategies. So, except once you've done the homework, you've done some research, and you're going through the education process, and it's never ending. You can also bring people like myself into the business to share your strategy plan with and expand on that, especially when you got someone like me who has technology background as well. That's very helpful because what I can do is take the tech language out of it. I mean, when I joined the IT industry, I didn't know how to spell IT. So, so a lot of people don't know the language. So having someone who can dumb it down is really important too. And then the commercialization, as you touched on before, how do I invest? How much do I invest? How much is a sensible investment? What's my risk appetite? They're the simple commercial things that you need to get right. But for me, it starts with education, having a plan, and then executing really well. And part of execution is about having the right people around you that can help with those processes.
Okay. This is a little bit of technical question which I feel I have added. So I can ask, how
Okay.
can sports executives future-proof their fan engagement strategies in a rapidly challenging tech landscape?
Yeah. I actually don't think you can future-proof it. The honest answer is it's changing all the time. So try and stay ahead of the pack. Continue to develop and innovate your platform. Remain aware and just continue to have the right people around you. If you have the right people around you with the right information, you're making right decisions with the right strategy, and you've got the right systems, that's about as close as you're going to get to future-proofing. And all you need to do is stay ahead of the pack. But it is constantly moving. I guess the other way to answer that question is, and I use the Olympics as a classic example. The coverage this year or last year, the coverage that we saw was very different to the coverage 4 years prior. Right? Forget about COVID. It was very different in the way it was presented. The broadcasters today don't actually know how they're going to present the next one in 4 years' time because they don't know what technologies they're going to have. They don't know where all of this is heading. They've got ideas, but tomorrow's technology has not even been thought about today, as today's technology is very different to the way we thought about it 4 or 5 years ago. That's how quickly it's moving. So it may not be the answer you wanted, but that's what I'm seeing in my industry anyway.
Okay. So what are the innovations, you think, according to the experience you carry, is going to redefine fan engagement in the next 5 years?
Well, we're becoming more device dependent. So whatever it is, you need to make sure that what happens on the device is a great experience. The app, the device technology is amazing. So the things you can do on that, you need to make sure that your platform, your application, leverages all of the smarts in there, including the AI, right? The predictive analytics that sits inside phones now of knowing what I want to do before I actually decide to do it is an area you can build inside your technology to make sure that you're leveraging every part of the interests that I have. So getting the devices right is important. If I'm going to get off the couch and I'm going to have a live experience, again, as I said before, just make sure that it's a personalized, immersive experience that gives me full value for money in terms of the entertainment that I see, where I can combine the technology, the experience, and the commerce.
Okay. There are a lot of questions, but I will stick to a last one for you. A piece of business advice to the companies and the sports organizations who are working into the fan engagement segment.
Um, it's no different to any business decision you need to make, and I'll just repeat what I said before. You need to make sure you have good industry awareness. You need to make sure that you have a strong, sound, and strategic plan. You need to make sure you then have the people and the systems to execute. It's no different in any type of business. You need to have those elements. If you're selling a product, then brand is important. So your marketing strategy is pretty critical as well, right? And then, of course, there's your points of differentiation. Um, I've seen some great ideas never succeed. I've seen some really poor ideas succeed really well because they've got the other parts right. If you've got something that you think is a really good product, just because it's great doesn't mean it'll be successful. So the planning, the execution, the people, the systems are all the things I ever talk about when I go and give advice to customers and businesses. And I've seen that go horribly wrong, and I've seen that go exceptionally well. So to me, that hasn't changed in decades.
Okay, that's really interesting to understand your point of view and from the experience you hold.
Yeah.
So
Especially if it's customer centric. The key is to make it customer centric. All the data shows if I have a great experience, I'll do it again and I'll tell someone. Today, if I have a bad experience, I won't do it again. And through social media, I'll tell a lot of people. So,
absolutely, absolutely.
yeah.
Okay, so like now we will move on to the next segment, that is the rapid fire questions.
All
Like
right.
you will have to answer it really quick, okay? I will ask you a few
Okay.
questions very quick, whatever comes on top of your head.
Okay. All right.
First is favorite sports team of all time.
AFL Essendon, NRL Melbourne Storm.
Okay. One sporting event you will never miss watching.
AFL Grand Final. I don't think I've missed one in decades.
Okay. Most unforgettable live sports experience.
Uh, 80s in Chicago, baseball and the Bulls. I'll never forget that. So I've been a convert of those sports since. And the Formula One Grand Prix, the way it's done in Melbourne, is up there with the Australian Open. So my rapid fire question is those ones. There you go.
True. The next is AI or AR, which will have a bigger impact on fan engagement.
Yeah, well, as I said before, AI is about data. AR is about the experience. I think the AR is going to have a bigger impact.
Okay. Smart stadiums or virtual fan experience, which excites you more.
Definitely smart stadiums. If I'm going to get off my backside and get off the couch and go see it, the smart stadiums is going to be what gets me there. So yeah, the the experience, the atmosphere beats that the couch anytime.
Okay. Next is one sports technology trend you think is overhyped.
Um, the apparel technology, I think there's so much of it now that I think just get out there and perform.
Okay. If you could invent a sports gadget, what would it be?
A golf club putter that can sink that ball every time it strikes it. My putting can certainly improve with a putter that has a technology base that I always read the green correctly and it sinks the putt. And I'm sure there are others who would agree with me on that.
Okay. If you had to replace referees with AI, yes or no?
No, they should help the referees but not replace them. Let's get real. Let's stick to what happens on the field.
Agree. Describe the future of sports in 3 words.
3 words. 360-degree entertainment.
That is awesome. That is bang on. Okay. Now the next segment is you have to answer the question which I give you in 30 seconds.
Wasn't that? Oh, okay. Go on.
Yeah, but this is only you get 30 seconds for this.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow.
Uh, you being experienced in the field, having leadership positions, one lesson or two, three lessons from the sports world you apply into the business.
We can learn a lot about elite sports performance in business from sports people, right? So how they apply to their commitment to training, everything. The elite sports person and business are aligned. The business doesn't get it. And I've got a program around how you turn business into elite performance based on performance of elite athletes and clubs. So there's a lot to learn from there, and that's the one area that I think businesses can really improve on and get away from mediocrity. Did I get that in 30 seconds?
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, we will end the session. Like, do you have anything like, last minute thoughts or anything you would like to share with us?
No, I think one area of growth that we barely touched on though is loyalty programs. And every sport has them now, but I know that the sports community around the world, as we become more open to other sports, I think there's an opportunity there for some true fan engagement across codes, across sports. So when I was at Melbourne Storm, we were looking at all of the clubs that had Melbourne in their name and how we could actually combine resources so that we can leverage what we know about our supporters and get more people to engage in more sports. So I think we'll see some progress in that space as well.
End the session then. Ron, thank you, Ron, for sharing the insights. With your experience, with your understanding in the field, it means a lot to all the audience who. Let's stay connected, everyone, for more understanding about sports technology in the future. That was Ron sharing his insights and experience today. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you next time in the next episode. Until then, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep exploring.